water in this cup represents the 80% water in our body, and this food coloring represents the nutrients. And once we put the nutrients in the water helps spread the nutrients throughout our body. So this represents the property of diffusion because it's showing how it goes throughout the body.
And diffusion is the spreading of molecules or ions in a liquid or gas.
And this is beneficial to life because without water we wouldn't be able to spread nutrients throughout our body.
What happened to the food coloring?
It spreads throughout the water.
I have to zoom in. It just looks like it's sitting on the bottom.
No, it's spreading. It's in the middle too.
I got a mixer if you guys need a mixer.
And it spreads throughout the water.
There it is. It's going. Okay. All right. Hey, thank you very much.
Okay, so this is the structure of water, and because of this, there's a lot of elasticity, which you can kind of see, like how the water's like kind of almost like bending around the paperclip. So this property of water is called surface tension. I'm Julie's going to explain that.
Okay, so essentially surface tension is due to the hydrogen bonding, and this also shows the cohesion property, which is like a property of elasticity. It creates elasticity around the paperclip, and the reason why cohesion works is because of hydrogen bonds.
Liquid water is essential to life. If you refer back to the video we watched on Friday, it makes up 60 to 80% of your body. And without it, our cells would not be able to function.
All right. Thanks, guys.
32 degrees or below, ice is formed because molecules don't move around as fast. The molecules also expand, making ice less dense than water, allowing it to float.
In lakes and ponds, when temperatures drop below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, ice covers the water. This isolates and protects the aquatic organisms below the surface. This is necessary for the aquatic life to survive during winter and prevents them from going extinct.
I love how that fish is dead, and yet you're talking about it. No, just kidding. So ice floats, and yet it's a solid.
Yes, because it's less dense than water.
Because
Yes.
the molecules expand.
All right. Thank you, guys. Well done.
Okay, so oil is hydrophobic, which means it does not mix with water because it's nonpolar. And so when you put oil in water, even if you mix it, it'll still separate. And this is, I was going to tell you why it's essential to life.
So this is essential to life because membranes inside cells are oily, and then that will separate the water inside and outside the cell.
All right. Thank you.
We're mixing water and sugar to show that water is a solvent. The polarity of a water molecule and its ability to form hydrogen bonds makes water an excess solvent. The slightly negative charge of the sugar attracts to the slightly positive charge of the hydrogen atom in the water. Since water is such a great solvent, the solute, in this case sugar, dissolves quickly. And then when it's in the body, then it allows the sugar to move to the cells quickly, and then the cells perform the function together.
Nice. Excellent. Thank you, guys, very much.
The property we're demonstrating is cohesion, which is the resistance of separation between water molecules because of the hydrogen bonds. And cohesion allows water to be pulled vertically through the tissues of plants as water evaporates from the leaves.
All right.
And we showed this by putting food coloring in water and then placing the celery in it over a few days. And then the food coloring made the water apparent in the celery as it traveled through it through a few days, and it came up and ended in the leaves.
Nice.
Cohesion is important to life because it allows water to go through plants, which keeps them alive, which keeps the system aquatic on.
All right. So, what should gravity be doing to the water?
Alright, so we have oil and water, and oil and water don't mix because oil is hydrophobic, and water is made up of polar molecules, and oil is made up of non-polar molecules, and the two can't form hydrogen bonds together.
Okay, so when you mix oil and water, the water breaks into small droplets, but quickly begin to cluster into larger droplets as new hydrogen bonds form amongst its molecules. This bonding excludes molecules of oil and pushes them into drops that rise to the surface of the water.
The oil stays on top of the water rather than bottom because oil is less dense per cubic foot than the water is.
Okay.
And then it's important to life because of, well, when we are going for the less dense and the higher dense, say there was an oil spill and then the oil will rise to the top rather than to the bottom, which will still kill species, but less species.
Yeah.
So no more drastic extinction.
All right. Okay, thank you guys.
So, molecules of some substances resist separating from one another, and the resistance gives rise to a property called cohesion.
And cohesion is the property of a substance and the tendency of its molecules to resist separating from one another.
You can see cohesion in many different forms, like evaporation, roots in plants, and surface tension. In the roots of plants, the cohesion makes it possible for the water to rise from the roots to the leaves inside narrow pipelines of vascular tissue. In this demonstration, you can see that the water is sticking to itself and like forming a bubble rather than just falling off because it's sticking to itself.
And the bonds cause it to form surface tension on the edge, which, yeah, and when it gets too big, it'll still break because it's a liquid, but it's fairly strong bonds.
All right.
Here, we're going to demonstrate how polar water molecules push nonpolar oil away. Water is polar because of the unequal share of electrons, and the oxygen atom in the molecule is slightly negative, while the hydrogen ones are slightly positive. So when we pour this in here, the water is able to come back together and it's also able to like push away the oil and form a top layer of oil because the hydrogen bonds are so strong. This demonstrates cohesion because the molecules in the water resist separation and push the nonpolar oil to the top.
And this is essential in life because the polarity of hydrogen bonds allow water to resist evaporation, which leads to it being a liquid at room temperature that allows aquatic life to have a habitat. And also, liquid water makes up 60 to 80% of the human body as well as the majority of other organisms.
All right. Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, so when water freezes, it becomes less that dense than its liquid state, which is very unique because usually when things freeze, they become more dense, and this is because the form of the hydrogen bonds to the oxygen is a triangle. So when they all freeze together, it creates little pockets of space, so it floats to the top.
And then when water freezes, it stays at the top, allowing some sort of insulation in a pond or lake or body of water, preventing the rest of the water to get cold as quickly, allowing for fish and other organisms to still have a habitat within the system.
And this is on your little ice cube.
And it's floating.
Yes, it is.
Beautiful. Thank you, guys.
So our property was that water does not interact with hydrophobic molecules. And here we have oil and water, and they separate when you combine them because the water is polar and the oil is nonpolar.
This is useful in life because in cells, the cell membrane represents the oil, and the cytoplasm inside the cell and the fluid outside of the cell represents the water, and they separate.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Thank you, guys.
The water that we are demonstrating is adhesion. Because water is a polar molecule, it sticks to other polar molecules. So if we drop water in this rubber band, instead of dropping straight down, it flows all the way down into the cup.
And this can be seen in nature, for instance, on different trees, like when droplets of rain stick to leaves and to roots, and that's what allows it to be sucked into the tree and be used for photosynthesis, which utilizes or provides energy for other organisms.
Nice. Excellent. Thanks, guys. Well done. Go for it.
Okay, so the property we're showing is diffusion within cells. When a cell has too much material, such as protein or amino acids on one side, it will go to the other using diffusion. And when it has not enough on one side, on the outside of it, it will go in using diffusion.
This process is essential to life because without homeostasis, the cell dies, and the diffusion of the proteins in the liquid helps keep it alive.
Cool. I don't know if they can see that very well, so hold that up. So they have a mesh screen kind of cutting the cup in half. So you got yellow on one, blue on the other, yeah? But give it a little bit of That's very cool.